Why? Because we owe you an apology for us not being on time, which is part of the normed culture. And sometimes life happens, and that's part of our healing today. It is an acknowledgement of who we are and the bridges that we could build not only in ourselves, but with others, others that might be the same to us, others that might be different. But there is always commonality that we could find if we could find it in our hearts to heal. I am so excited for a person who's been in my life for many, many years to share space with me as you can see who we truly are together and individually. That is Karen on this very special day. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you in a couple minutes.
Hey, wait, hang on a second, everyone. Before we get started, and I apologize, just real quick. Happy birthday to you. 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 Happy.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That is such a blessing. I received that. Thank you so much, Future and Dan.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, it is Karen's birthday today, and she is choosing to spend a little of her beautiful self with us today. And also, it might be somebody's birthday in the crowd. So if it's your birthday this month or this day, happy birthday to you. But Dan, wanted to create something special for you, Karen, for even choosing to be with us today on
Oh,
your special day.
thank you. This is making my day even more special. My daughter was asking me, "So what are you doing to celebrate your birthday?" I'm like, "I'm going live with Future Kane." Because every time you and I talk, Future, I am so uplifted. And I just want to thank you for being such a source of joy and beauty in my life and spirit. Like you just elevate me so much. And I'm so grateful for you, Future.
Sending hugs and love your way. What I love about you is we have a lot of candid conversations with each other behind the scenes, off screen, and on our phones. And when we were talking through Black History Month,
Mm.
and conversations came up of who do we want when we were planning, who should we bring on, and Dan, I will say whenever you just want to tune in, if you want to, or if you just want me to go with it 100% by myself, I want to just come on in whenever you want. We were having conversations of who should we have. And one of the conversations that we were having behind the scenes was, should Black History Month be all people who represent Blackness? And when we were going back and forth, one of the things that I said was, okay, I hear some people, and if that is for Black History Month, if people believe Blackness needs to be centered, then I would say, how do we define how Blackness is centered? And the reason why I say that is we each come with many different beautiful intersectionalities. And I also know if you compare me to Blackness, some people would say, well, there's people who are more Black than you are. Beautiful. And that I'll hold the truth for that. And there's people who are more Black because one of the reasons would be both of their family members who created them are both Black. And I will give people that too. I will also question people to then reflect on the people who were raised or birthed by both Black family members that created them or didn't create them and raise them. Are they fighting and advocating as much as another person who maybe wasn't birthed or raised by two Black people too? Because I know how much I am advocating and what I am doing to help the global majority, but more importantly, the Black community. And I wouldn't even be here to speak up, to advocate, to fight if it wasn't for my mother, who was white,
Mhm.
who fought as hard, if not harder, than some of the Black people that I know for the Black community.
Mm.
So when we were having this discussion, Dan and I said, no, I am going to make the choice on this show. If we are going to heal, then we need to build bridges too. And part of the bridge that I feel that can be built more is the interracial relations that we have with each other, not only sisters, but any gender identity that you want to put on it. Dan, I'm going to pause to see if you want to come in and say anything or if you're like, I am staying quiet right now.
Hi, Naomi.
It, it's a unique proposition because in the past we have um, had these conversations, and I think the person that calls themselves the ally would make a statement that during Black History Month, it should only be Black folk on the panel. But when we look at anti racism in general, and we look at Black history as American history and world history and whatnot, and we realize that it's not a month, it's a 365, then the lines get, what the hell is going on with this here? Apologies, everyone. Um, then those lines start to become a lot more clear. And it go just like colorism, it becomes something that people see to something that we can remove um, as a construct and just see people for who they are. So having Karen here is very much of a blessing to us. I will say that I was laughing, Karen, because as you're kind of as we're waiting to get you on camera, I'm thinking, I think this is probably the only thing I've ever been on time for. So, because I come from a Jewish family and we're not exactly known for being on time any time at all, anywhere. So it's kind of a unique proposition. So I'm going to shut up before I get myself in trouble and bring back to you.
Okay, so I just want to pose that to you, Karen, because we've privately had the conversations of you shouldn't be doing the work, right? Like you are representing whiteness and you shouldn't be doing the work. And here we are in Black History Month and you are here and we are here together because we do the work together a lot of times. So I just want to pause and just have people understand who you are, whatever bits and pieces you want to share of who you are, your being, not the titles and roles that people want us to share because we think that that's important in itself. Whatever you want to share with the people, because I think it's important for people to understand who and your purpose.
Okay, well, thank you so much. First of all, I'm so honored that you had me on the show, and also that you celebrated my birthday and you pulled up this beautiful image, which means a lot to me, and also the image of me with my mentee, Anthony Josie. I'm like having a little "this is your life" moment over here. It's so sweet. My name is Karen Fleshman. I use she, her pronouns. I am a European American cisgender woman, um, settler. I occupy the unceded territory of the Ohlone people in San Francisco, California. I'm a single mother, divorced, um, uh, living in a generational household. So I live with my 87-year-old mother and my two kids. So that's always interesting to have multiple generational perspectives in the same household. I recently began caring for my ex-husband's dog. So I know, I guess, being a dog caregiver is also becoming part of my but my purpose, my mission in life is to inspire the anti-racist generation. And I came to that mission after basically I've been an activist engaged in social change my entire life since I was in elementary school. The early part of my career was in the immigrants' rights movement. And I moved to New York City to help immigrants become citizens. We helped 50,000 New Yorkers apply for their naturalization, something I'm very proud of. And then we were defunded in the post 9/11 economic downturn. Right around then, reports started coming out that said 50% of Black men in New York City don't have a job. We have almost 200,000 young adult New Yorkers, almost entirely Black and Latinx, who are not in school, not working. And coming from the immigrants' rights movement, it was like, what? Like, how is that even possible? Like, immigrants face a lot of adversity, but everybody's working. So why aren't the people who were born and raised here working? And why isn't this the front page of the New York Times? Like what, like no one seemed to care. But I really cared. And so I was able to co-found a private sector summer internship program for young people that instead of doing summer youth employment program in a nonprofit or a daycare center, they were going to JP Morgan and Bloomberg and working in these glassy Manhattan high rises. And then I really fell in love with youth workforce development. And when this great national organization called Year Up expanded to New York, I became one of the founding team members. That was when I really had to face my racism because as a Year Up staff member, I was a mentor to 4 or 5 young people of color in every cohort. So you saw the photo of me with Anthony. Anthony was one of my mentees. So I would sit there and listen to their stories. And that was when I realized I had so many harmful assumptions and stereotypes about them that I needed to get rid of. And
Mhm.
also that just their stories were so different from mine. Like, oh, there we are. That's my farewell party when I left New York in 2012. It's one of my favorite photos. So, uh, yeah. So flash forward, I leave New York in 2012, move to San Francisco, and continue doing that line of work. And in 2014, I'm like fixated on Ferguson because I
Mhm.
really see in Mike Brown Anthony, you know,
Yeah.
and I was so devastated when Darren Wilson wasn't indicted for killing him. Like I thought for sure he would be indicted. So a couple of weeks after that, I go out to brunch with 2 young Black women, graduates of Europe, in Oakland, and we're talking about Mike Brown. And I express how surprised I am. And they're like, "Why are you surprised? No one ever gets indicted for killing us." And I'm like, and then we
Facts.
start, yeah, yeah, like, oh, then we start talking about what it's like for them at these tech companies. And they're
Yeah.
like, "We are grateful." So they had graduated from Europe and had been hired where they'd been placed as an intern and had been working there for a couple of years. They're like, "We're so grateful for our incomes and our lifestyles, the fact that we're able to stay in Oakland. But coming into work every day, being the only Black woman as far as the eye can see, we are bombarded by
Hmm.
toxicity, a lot of it coming from women who look." And that was that moment where I was like, hold on. I thought I was helping young people. And in a sense, I was, but I was also putting them in harm's way. And guess who the harmer was? My people, right?
Yeah.
And that, so I decided I'm going to stop preparing young adults of color for the workplace and start preparing the workplace for young adults of color. And that was the genesis of Racy Conversations.
Hmm. Okay. So that was a lot,
Yes, sorry.
right? And it was, I'm no, don't apologize for it. It was a lot because it's a lot probably for people to sit with of, okay, this is the evolution of your being and
Yes.
an evolution of awareness, an evolution of understanding, which is exactly what I and you keep speaking up about. That's why I keep saying hey, hello, tap, tap, tap. I need people to tap into their own social emotional intelligence because the base foundation, what I speak of all the time, is self awareness. And if
Mm,
you don't want to hold the mirror up to yourself and look candidly in that mirror, you're going to miss all the ripples of impact that you are having, whether that is causing pain and harm or celebration and happiness. It could be both ands. I think the other thing that I appreciate about you is just sharing that journey because there's so many people that you and I have experienced together or separately. People are standing in quicksand of fear.
mm,
And essentially, that fear then causes them to do nothing, stay silent,
mm,
look the other way, or just sit in a reel of what I would say is negative or not serving thoughts about oneself that aren't serving one's being and then inevitably can't serve us in general. And I think another thing that you touched on was in relation to the post that I posted that you reposted for this talk of the world is made up of both ands.
mm,
And while we can be oppressed, as you were, I I would agree no in some spaces for being a woman. You can't then say because I'm the oppressed, I can't too be the oppressor.
mm.
So I am going to just pause to ask in all of this time because you've had a lot of conversations, thousands of conversations with different people. What do you believe you're finding that is something you would tell people to sit with themselves on for their own awareness to help them on this journey if they are truly about a journey of anti-racism?
Oh, wow. That's such a deep question and something I've really been reflecting on. Um, February 5th would have been Trayvon Martin's 28th birthday. February 6th was Bob Marley's birthday. February 7th, yesterday, would have been Sandra Bland's
Oh,
birthday. Today is my birthday. February 14th, he never knew what his actual birthday was, but Frederick Douglass chose February 14th as his birthday. And to me, the idea that we all don't just wake up every morning and march in the streets and demand the end of police brutality, I cannot stand it. I cannot stand that already in this year, uh, so many people have been killed by police. And last year was a record year of police killings, and we don't even know, like we're not even really sure, right? Because it's just activists
Yeah.
collecting the stories that are reported. There's probably a lot more going on in rural places, native communities, native reservations that never uh, appear in the media, so we don't have any record of this. And just it is a cultural problem that people like me are also racialized by police, right? When I get pulled over, they're like, half the time they don't even ask for my license and registration. They just say, "Oh, ma'am, I noticed you were driving without your headlights on. You better turn those on." And so it's going to take a massive movement and persistence, the kind of persistence that Frederick Douglass had, to get up every morning and roll that boulder up the hill and
Mhm.
just keep agitating and keep gathering momentum. And so I think for me, where I really am right now is white people. How are we going to organize with other white people in our life to make up our hue in the multicultural uh, democracy, right? We have to be in solidarity. This does not mean we are the leaders, the decision makers. This means the black women, uh, queer people, set the agenda, and we follow their leadership. But we have to build within white communities support for changing these laws, because it is white people who are maintaining um, police brutality through our support of police.
Okay, so I just need to give space. I need to give space because we just went through all the names and all the dates. And you saw, on social media,
Mm,
I saw the different memorials and just celebrations of each of those people that you named. And it's a lot.
it's a lot.
It's a lot. If we, there would be hundreds of names, and maybe not, but there would be several names on each day of the 365 days that we have,
Yes.
right? Every year. If you go back years and years and years and centuries, because you don't even think about the police. You think of all the deaths the enslaved
Mm,
had to suffer too. So it's a lot on
a lot of
kind of.
violence.
So if we think about that, I hear you on, okay, we have to collectively, come together. And I
I
also
also
have to
to
hold
hold
space
space
for
for
people
people of
of their self awareness is maybe something that they, as people, have not had to sit with. There's a lot of people who are playing Houdinis with their own selves and their own emotions and their own being because they will do anything to escape sitting with themselves, sitting
Hmm.
with their emotions and sitting through them.
Hmm.
So I would urge people to please sit with yourself first because the journey of healing, there's so many unhealed wounds we each have on our hearts or in our minds that we need to move through first before we could even go to that point of, okay, I am even ready to come out here and fight and care for another's healing and speak up, while also holding the space for And I know there's a large group of people who will say, well, that's yeah, everybody has to go right now because we've already lost time. There is no more time. I hear you. And I also know that unfortunately, the global majority and the people who have been oppressed continually throughout the nation or the world have built up resilience muscles of being exactly that. I didn't ask to come on this planet and have to be resilient. Believe you me, I would love to sit one day and actually, which I do, be allowed to be soft, right? Not have to armor up from things I'm going to have to face on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And at the same time, I also know that while I built that strength up, the people who are upholding the system most of the time, whiteness, is also a muscle that has to be built with the resiliency of being able to even do this. Because it's
Yes.
easy to tap out, Karen. It's
It is
real
so
easy,
easy to tap out.
right?
And we saw it, right? People came out in mass in 2020, all 50 states. In the tiny town that I grew up in Colorado, that was a hotbed of the John Birch Society. Um, all Amish communities, we saw it all across the United States, and then it fizzled out.
Yeah,
And what I uh, the key to effective resistance is persistence, and it
exactly.
is a long haul. It's interesting. Earlier, maybe it was last week, Farzan Farzad commented, why are all these people fighting systemic oppression smiling, especially if they're from the oppressor class. And I haven't commented back to him, but I have to say, in order to sustain effective resistance, we have to experience joy. We have to cultivate joy. And I learned so much from Resma Menachem, and he says, white people, you have one role in this movement, and that is to collect your cousins. Well, guess what? I can't collect my cousins with FU cousins energy, right? I will never, what Audre Lorde taught us, the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean I'm not furious. I am so angry, and my anger fuels what I do. But if I speak to white people in anger, guess what? It doesn't,
Who's
it
coming with you?
repels. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, and to me, anti-racism really is joy. It is the joy of building deep human connection,
Yeah.
of seeing you in your full humanity, you seeing me in my full humanity, and building that relationship over time. That gives me tremendous joy. I want that for everybody. And at the beginning, you talked about fear. And that is exactly what capitalism, patriarchy, white supremacy wants. It is a system built and maintained, a system of wealth and power accumulation in the hands of a tiny few, that is maintained by keeping everybody else fearful and
Mhm.
distrustful of one another and of ourselves. And as long as they can keep that in our minds, like Stephen Biko said, the most powerful tool in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed.
Mhm.
So wake up, everybody.
Welcome to
And
the Matrix.
exactly, exactly,
Which pill? We're
exactly.
giving you a pill, right? We're giving you the pill. Which one are you taking? Are you taking the blue or are you taking the red? I think that goes to Yvette. I hope I'm pronouncing people's names right. Um, so many things within what she's saying, I
Yes.
can relate to, we can relate to, we talk often because this system that has been constructed by human beings, okay? The system wants us not to rest.
Mm.
Okay? The system, when you are not restful,
Hmm.
it is hard then to see clearly
Yes.
because you're just worried about tomorrow. You're just worried about the next day. The system realizes if we band together, because if you look at the United States, we have been programmed to be very individualized,
Hmm.
don't come as a collective together.
To
If
loathe labor unions, they are subversive and terrible.
Okay, so if we as human beings band together and if
Hmm.
we are well rested, your mind can see more clearly. Your heart that has been whispering to you, you
Mm.
can actually hear it. That joy that then when you're sharing space with others who can fully see the embodiment of who you are, is a different paradigm, conscious and unconscious shift that I don't know how many people have sat with themselves enough to be able to go there.
Mm. And what capitalism wants is for me to compete with you.
Right.
Capitalism wants me to say, oh, I can't believe Future got that promotion. Who does she think she is? I'm more qualified than her. You know what? I'm going to undermine her. I'm going to I'm going to harm her. I'm going to take it out on her. Capitalism wants me to direct all my animosity to you. So I never look at who is actually profiting.
Okay. Finger snap for that because here's the reality. The reality is we're all being harmed. Okay. Now, if we want to play oppression Olympics, as I see many people wanting to do, can I claim, and you're not going to disagree with me, Karen, am I probably more harmed than you are being right now in the system on Earth? Okay.
100%.
We're not debating that. What we are also saying at the same time is, yes, I am being harmed, and I can also hold space for you. You are being harmed too. And if we are on journey of healing, why would we want another human being to be harmed and have to suffer through pain?
Mm.
I don't want that. I don't want that for anybody. Even the person who I know gets to go through life very differently and maybe with a lot more comfort and ease. I still don't want pain to come to them. I still don't want them to have limitlessness all around them, as Yvette is saying, with the scarcity mindset and the perception that there is a lack of abundance where it is everywhere, and it is a mindset and a belief that turns into actions for that to actually happen. But if we don't get silent, if we don't rest, it is then more difficult to see all this. So our
Mm.
healing is necessary for us to build these bridges, for us to say, hey, we want to come to have these interracial conversations and relationships that are very much and have been needed. And many people through the centuries have been doing this.
Yes, yes. I know, it was my interpersonal relationships that brought me to this place. And I read all the books, I listen to all the podcasts, I go when people are coming to speak, I go listen to them, blah, blah, blah. But it was my friendships across difference that brought me to where I am on my journey. And that part about rest is just so important, um, because this is a marathon.
Mhm.
It's not even a marathon. Why can't I think of her name? The woman who Clarence Thomas sexually harassed. Why can't I think of her name? Black woman, attorney, professor. She she
Screenshot?
says this. No, it's Anita Hill. Anita
Okay.
Hill. Anita Hill says this isn't a sprint or a marathon. This is a relay,
Mm, mhm.
right? So it's our stretch of the relay is in our generation, but we've got to move things forward. We can't be going backwards. What about all those folks behind us who got it to where it is now? We got to move it forward. But rest is part of that, because we will not have the energy to move it forward if we
Yeah.
are not taking care of ourselves.
Well, when I think about relays, I used to do track, okay? And I think about holding this baton.
Uh-huh.
And with holding the baton, I think this could be the analogy for the people because you are holding the baton. You said, I want to get in the relay, and you're running around, right? Like you're on the track and you're running. That's what you're doing. And we are asking for people to come on the track, lace your sneakers up, step on the track, and ask if you can grab the baton too, to
Mm,
allow somebody to step out of the
yes.
relay to rest, to allow
Yes.
somebody to get a drink of water because they've already done several laps, to
Yes.
allow the team, which we should be collectively, humanity, team humanity, to see each other and want to win this race of equity.
Yes, 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 yes. And to know what our role is in the race, right?
Right.
So, my role is to collect my cousins, right? My role is to reach my white siblings
Mhm.
and get them in the race and help us to understand what our role is, how to unlearn our conditioning, what is wrong with us, what is right with us, what
Mhm.
can we build from about what is right with us, and to start. Racism is never going to end from the top down, right? If that were possible, we wouldn't be where we are 50 years after a movement that succeeded at getting our laws to change. The federal government was like, you know what? You're right. We're changing these laws. Discrimination is banned. Stop doing that. It's illegal. Don't do it no more. Look where we are 50 years later, right? So it's going to end from people like you and me coming
Mhm.
together, and then we reach a few more people, and then they reach a few more people, and then they reach a few more people. My friend that I met at Resma Menakam's workshop at Omega, which I highly recommend everyone go to, talked about how we're little drops, but when the drops come together, we make a puddle, and then when more drops join in, we make a lake. And then pretty soon we are the ocean.
Yeah, we are the ocean. We are. The other thing I think about is losses
Mm,
on Good Fight for Equity. And it reminds me of these trees in the background, nature. And I need people to sit in a couple words. One is impermanence.
mm,
Two is expansion, evolution.
mm,
The reason I say these is because I've been thinking a lot about this, and these trees remind me of nature. If you look at a tree, they are bare. They're bare because the trees go through seasons to lose flowers, to lose branches, to lose leaves. And yet, the following year, we're going to look at that tree. It has evolved. It's going to come back with beautiful, even more
mm.
flowers and leaves, get taller, get bigger, be more vibrant. And we sometimes want to cling so hard that our knuckles are like red and white to things that are no longer serving our being. Instead
Yes.
of saying, Impermanence and change is a necessary part of humanity and your journey on this world path we're on. So,
Yes.
what are you hanging on to when you know impermanence is a truth?
Yes. To everything there is a season. And I think about that with racism, how much ego is tied up in this. How much I can't possibly be wrong. I can't possibly, you know, I am 100% right. Like,
Mm.
who is that? No one is 100% right. And why are we so resistant? Like, if you had spinach between your teeth, I would say to you, future, you got some spinach between your teeth. You might want to take that out. I'm saying that out of love to you. I am saying that because I want the best for you. I am offering that to you to help you be the best version of yourself. Same
Mm.
thing, sir. I couldn't help but notice what you just said or did was incredibly racist. And I want
Yeah.
to share with you why that is so. And I'm offering this to you because I want you to be the best version of yourself and not continue to practice these practices or do these things, say these words, whatever it is. What is
And
so harmful about that?
I don't, I stand in curiosity. I stand in
Mhm,
curiosity on,
mhm,
do people think it's harmful, or are people fearful? Because Karen, here's what I do know with doing these conversations and leading interracial sisterhood with you.
mhm.
You know, because we've gotten this before. People have blatantly said they are scared. They're scared to speak up and say something. People
Yes.
don't know what to say. This is
Well,
new. This is new to some
mhm,
people, even
yes,
have to address it.
right. And all by design. I have to promote my all-time favorite book. Right? So why are we so fearful of saying something goes all the way back to the violence our ancestors, white European Americans, the violence our ancestors inflicted on each other as a public spectacle of violence in Europe. And so, as they were introducing capitalism to Europe, women who resisted that said, no, we don't want that. They accused them of being witches and burned them at the stake in a public spectacle of violence and sat their kids right there to watch it. Okay. So the message becomes align yourself with the most violent, be silent when you see violence happening, or you will be the next person to be harmed. That is extremely deep in our intergenerational trauma as white people. And that's how it shows up in 2023. Oh, just put the blinders on and pretend like this isn't happening.
Because you have the
Take,
privilege to go back and do that,
yes,
right? That's
yes,
the there is a privilege and an ease and a comfort that the system has created for some people, not all people, that you can just tap out and not look until you
yes,
want to go to the area that has global majority people to possibly see how people are experiencing life and the pain and suffering that is being portrayed, projected to others from other humans.
correct, correct. If you want to maintain your entire life in the all white bubble, the system will actually reward you for that.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of incentives to stay in that bubble, and there's punishments for leaving the bubble too. So it's very much by design that you be in that all white bubble. And yes, I think it's primarily fear. Yes, fear of the unknown, and then fear realizing. that you could be subjected to violence, you could lose things, you could get all kinds of trolls and harassment, blah 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 blah. But in the end, what we have to lose is so much less than what you have to lose, right?
Yeah.
And it is so much less than what we will gain by become, and I'm not trying to be all transactional here, but really when I balance what I have lost from living this lifestyle
Mhm.
versus what I have gained in terms of the relationships, the self-awareness, the ability to look myself in the mirror, the ability to be a good role model to my kids, the ability to be a strong member of my community, the ability to be a mentee and a mentor, all of that, it's like this.
Mhm.
I gained so much more than what I lost. So my friend Dr. Mimi Narti talks about the flying squirrel. She's like, it meant, there were these squirrels they were running up the tree. And then one squirrel was like, you know what? If I just jumped over to that other tree, I wouldn't have to run all the way down and then come back up the other tree. And that one squirrel was like, took the risk of jumping off that tree. And as a
Mhm.
result, evolved the entire species. And now there's a whole group of flying squirrels because that one squirrel was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. So be the flying squirrel.
Okay, so here's what I think. I think I know what your answer is going to be, but I'm going to ask you because I'm not going to answer
Sure.
for you. Okay. When we talk about this fear, because that was something that we touched on, and then Eric is bringing it up too. When we talk about this fear, I I'm going to answer part of this question. I know he directed it to you, but I'm going to answer it. How do you evolve to current state of fearlessness? Here's what I'm going to say. Even on 2020, when I got in here and I called LinkedIn out for basically blatantly showing bias and the algorithms were not equitable, FYI. Okay. And I had numerous questions. Oh my gosh, you're really going to call out a big company on doing this? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Because I don't it doesn't matter to me if you are a Fortune 1 company, if you're number 1 on this friggin' list, or if you're the president of the United States, or if you are the person who has the most money in the world. For me, it comes down to a just and a rightness of this is not right. And
Mhm.
y'all see when it's not right, and you're going to sit here in your fear and not push through the fear to speak up. So I am going to say, I am scared every single, well, I shouldn't say every single day. That's not true. I am scared often by pressing post, by
Mm,
pressing send on some of these emails, by going up to the managers or the leaders and demanding that I speak to somebody from what I'm seeing.
mm,
I'm not scared. And at the same time, I can't not do it.
mm,
I will do it scared because I would rather not sit there and do nothing.
mhm.
So I want to ask you, is it you truly have a fearlessness, or, right? Are you pushing through the fear and still doing it?
I'm pushing through the fear and still doing it. And then the more that I do it and see, it's like I stick my toe in the water.
Mhm.
Oh, how was that? Oh, look, it wasn't that bad. I'm gonna now stick my whole foot in. Next thing I know, I'm up to my knee. You know what I mean? Like by taking it in munchable chunks, and then you also start to build community. So the more community you have, the more backup support you have, that when, your account does get deactivated, or some horrible troll comes after you and it's scary, or whatever the case is, you have someone who's on your side. And then you're
Mhm.
just like, you know what? Let me just go for it. But there's still things that I'm scared about, and one of the major accomplishments for me from this past year is I ran for office. I
Mhm.
had been talking about running for office forever. I've wanted to run for office since I was a little kid. And it never, was like, when are you going to get married, right? It never seems like, oh, now is the right time, right? And so I went to visit last May my friend Gina Cho in Sacramento. I was staying with her, and she said to me, "Karen, are you going to run for school board?" Because I've been talking to her about running for school board, and I was like, I don't know. I don't think so." And then I was like, you know what? Is this going to be another one of those things that I talk about doing that I've always wanted to do and I just don't do it? Like, what the hell? And one day I was at Zumba and I'm like, let me just go inside because I do Zumba in front of San Francisco City Hall. Let me just go inside and find out if I missed a deadline. And they're like, oh no, you haven't missed a deadline. They gave me the papers. I filled them out and boom, I was a candidate for school board. And I want to tell everyone watching this who believes in anti racism, the number one thing you can do is run for school board. Run for something. But definitely school board. You see they're trying to ban books, don't say gay, no truth about critical race theory, Black Lives Matter in the AP curriculum, no role of queer people in Black history. All of this, the schools are the number one battleground out there, and there is an organized project, the 1776 project, which is the rights answer to 1619 project, and Moms for Liberty. And these are not like grassroots groups, they're like Koch brothers fueled astroturf groups, but 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 they are fielding and running candidates for hundreds of school board races. They didn't win very many in 2022, but the Moms for Liberty founder was like, we don't see that as a loss. We see this as we were just getting started and an important lesson so that when we come back next time, we will be better. So listen up, anti racist people. Gather together in your communities and come together and support each other in running for school board because we need to counter those voices.
Mhm. She was mind blowing.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. Yes. And you know what? It doesn't matter if you lose. I
Yeah.
lost. But I still had a major impact on the race because I was running. I was very attentive to what the other candidates were saying. And one of the candidates said some very, didn't say, wrote some very racist things in a
Mhm.
candidate questionnaire. So I put that out there. I called her out for it. And lo and behold, she lost. And my
Mhm.
friend Alita won. And yes, schools are the number one battleground. There is a huge fight for the hearts and minds of Gen Z, and whatever they are, the people after Gen Z, I can't remember their name.
I can't remember either.
I can't remember the alphas. Are they alphas? I don't know. Anyway, we have to have a hand in that battle. And then let me tell you, when you do run for office, other anti racist people will have your back. When I announced I was running, two Black women, each of whom I had met exactly one time before, called me up and said, we want you to win. We are going to do all we can to help you win. And they were the most incredible volunteers of all time. So this is also good for our movement building. If we're running for school board and gathering like-minded people together, this is very good for our movement building. Because let me tell you, those Moms for Liberty people, they're running for school board in 2023, and in 2024 and 2026 they're going to be running for Congress, and they're all a bunch of Marjorie Taylor Greens. So let's start cultivating our countervailing force to these people.
Okay, you have to laugh. You have to laugh, right? Like I have to laugh because if not, I'm gonna cry. This is it's
Woman,
depressing. Some of the stuff
it
that do
is
we not
depressing.
hello? Like, is anybody seeing the same movie I'm watching? And it's
Yes.
depressing. And at the same time, we know this is why community is so important. This is why you can't sit and just watch like it's a friggin' parade, right?
Yes.
Nobody's throwing candy out at you. Stop staying on the sidelines and thinking I'm going to collect some good candy from this parade and go home. It's not a
And
parade.
don't wait for permission. No one has to give you permission to do this. I feel that that is another thing that majorly holds us back.
Yeah.
And I was in Sonia Renee Taylor and Adrienne Marie Brown's Institute from Radical Permission course. I highly recommend taking it. It's now like a totally online course, but let's just sprinkle that permission out there. You think it'll be helpful? Try it. Go for it. Don't wait for someone to come and say it's okay for you to do this, because that may never happen.
If you need a permission slip, anybody in the audience today or replay, if you
Yes,
need a
I'm
permission
signing
slip, as a former administrator, I'm real good at writing those out. I will create one. I will create one. We will get a school bus for you.
it.
We're gonna send you all where you need to go, which is on the track because we need you in this relay. We are serious. Okay. We're
Yeah.
serious.
Yes. Now, people with privilege, we also have to be cognizant of not giving ourselves permission to do things that is not exactly helpful. So, permission with accountability, right? Like, make sure that what you are doing is actually beneficial to the movement and you're not overstepping your lane. But that again is a function of relationship, right? To be able to ask people, would this be helpful if I did this?
Okay. So since it's Black History Month, I want to talk to you about that. I want you to answer this question though.
Sure.
And thank you for people putting that the generation is
Hey,
alpha. We appreciate you. Hi, Dr.
hi,
Rose.
real quick, just could you
Oh,
repeat the name of the course again?
yep.
Yes, it is the Institute for Radical Permission by Adrienne Marie Brown and Sonia Renee Taylor, and it's from Barrett Kaler Publishers.
Okay. Look at you dropping these knowledge. Okay. So here's my thing that I'm sitting with.
Yeah.
Get up and do something because we see a lot of stuff. We see a lot of stuff in the shortest month of the year, which happens to be also Black History Month, that happens that I
Yeah.
sit in curiosity and stare at of, that's interesting. Okay. So if we were going to say, give people a treat bag of, here are some suggestions of what you could do during this month to be helpful to this movement that needs you.
Hmm.
What are a few things? Because here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to give a couple and then you give a couple and then maybe we go back and forth. I'm going to keep telling people. I'm hoping somebody will hear me. I'm not saying I don't love posts. I love posts. I love being tagged of follow this human being. Okay. That's awesome. I love comments or a reshare. That is also awesome. And I also sit and think as a spiritual person about Mother Teresa.
Mm.
Mother Teresa, who I don't know if there's anybody who would actually say she was not selfless. Okay. Mother Teresa, with all the people that she still helped, she too even made mention, and I'm going to misquote her. However, she literally said, the cause needs money.
Hmm. Yes.
So essentially, your post is not paying people's bills. That maybe inadvertently it would highlight somebody hiring the work that myself and plenty other Black people do. But what would be helpful and most helpful is taking our classes, asking us to come in to facilitate a workshop or sit on a panel or an event that you will pay people for, not sitting emailing me about doing free work, which is a labor of love that I have given and our community has given for centuries. Free work.
Mm,
Okay? Let's during this Black History Month, let's think about all the enslaved people of how much free work they gave and didn't even benefit for them and their families, but benefited many other families today. And if you go back and look at your lineage, you might be one of the families that are still
mm,
benefiting from the enslaved people's work. So when we want to talk about, hey, how can I help during Black History Month? You can help by Future or whoever one of your favorite people is. Can I buy you a coffee? Hey, do you like flowers? Maybe could I send you a book if I maybe can't speak to get you in for an event or a workshop or consultation or coaching? That would be one of my recommendations for people because your love, as much as I love the love, I love love. I really do. I can't pay the bank a credit card bill and say, "Hey, I have 500 DMs of this
of
love.
people who love me.
Can you deposit? Can you deposit
Can you make my
$200?
credit rating grow up now? Look, they really, really love me.
Can you deposit this for next month and cover
Mm,
this month for me?" Okay. And I love you all enough to say this is a truth, okay? And we also have to be cognizant of there's a wealth gap. Nobody's going to sit here and
yeah,
argue it. So when there's a huge wealth gap and then you're basically asking people, "Here, can you do this for free or we're not going to give you any money, but we're going to like your post." Okay. And at the same time, I need you to sit with how is that helping? And
mm,
is that an action that is going to be beneficial to that individual person that I'm trying to help?
mm.
I want you to answer what you would say. What do you think would be helpful to support people who are Black or of the global majority?
Yeah. Well, if you're here in California, we have a statewide commission studying reparations for African Americans in California, about to make recommendations to the governor. Here in San Francisco, we have a San Francisco committee on
Right.
reparations that has already produced a draft report. And we need a multiracial coalition to say, I believe in repairing Black people for the harm we have caused them. And I strongly support not only the payment of reparations, but the transformation of systems so that they don't continue to perpetuate harm.
Yeah.
Another thing here in California, we have just last month here in San Francisco, we banned or limited the reasons why the San Francisco Police Department can make traffic stops.
Right.
And we have a statewide movement to ban police traffic stops. And that also requires multiracial coalition building because the police have tremendous power. We need as many people as possible to say, we do not, we want to strongly limit police use of traffic stops because we know what traffic stops frequently escalate to for Black and Brown Californians. And I know I'm talking, yeah,
Or who the traffic stops are targeted at. Okay, we
who
see
the
you.
traffic stops are disproportionately targeted at. 100%. And I know I'm speaking about California, but these are the kinds of things, the kinds of policies we can get passed at the local level. People say justice for Tyree Nichols, and I totally want to see these. I was glad to see the officers charged with murder and et cetera, et cetera. But the greatest way we can achieve justice is preventing another family, of having to go through that agony. And the way we do that is by policy change. So I would encourage, let's make Black history by, what was our theme for today? Healing our future. And the way we heal the future is by organizing and changing policies.
Okay. Do you have a second one? Because maybe some people are like, getting into right? But
Yeah.
surrendering sound to the
Yeah.
soul of your exhales. You and I do that
Yeah.
often. And they might be
Well,
like,
I think another one would be really studying Black history, visiting significant places in Black history, reading books about Black history to really understand the magnitude of what Black people led our country through, who have always been the greatest leaders in our society, are people whose names we frequently don't know, right?
yeah,
And whose stories are not well known. And now there's like a plethora of books coming out about them. So the 1619 Project is a great place to start. um, Stamped from the Beginning is another great book to read. You know what I'm saying? There's all these incredible stories, and let's learn these stories. And a lot of these people are still alive. People who made history. So let's learn from what they did, so that we develop those patterns of rest and coming back to struggle and continuing to move the baton to the next relay racer. And I'm sorry, I missed that last comment that was on the bottom there.
I'll make reference to it. Here's the thing, too, I think. If you don't
Mm,
like reading, that's
yeah,
fine. There are plenty of movies and series and shows or YouTubes that you could watch literally, or podcasts that you could listen to. Because I get it, some people don't like sitting down to read, or you
yeah.
get an audible book. The other thing that I think people could do this month, okay, is look at how you continue to steal,
Mm,
literally, from Blackness.
mm,
Because you and I both know, Karen, there are some
mm,
people out here that will follow Black people,
mm,
take what they say, whether
mm,
it's in posts or go to a training, take it, and then go charge other people. And you are getting way more money than anybody would ever think to pay a Black woman or a
mm.
Black. So I think it's okay, I know I could get paid this much. And at the same time, where did I get that content from?
Yes. Yes. And who am I bringing with me? Who am I connecting to opportunity? Who am I paying reparations to? Who am I collaborating with? Who am I mentoring? Who am I bringing in on different projects? Whose services am I utilizing when I need an attorney, when I need a business coach, when I need an accountant, et cetera, et cetera?
When I need my website developed, when I
Exactly.
when I need to print my book, right? Like we could go on
Yes.
and on.
On and
When I
on.
want to buy some clothing or nice earrings or
Yes.
lipstick.
Yes.
So it does. It goes on and on and on. These are all small decisions that have a big impact, a huge impact, and a ripple impact of generations that you are impacting with these, what we say are small decisions that are really large decisions.
Yes. Yes. When you think about 75% of white people, this is from a while ago, like 11 years ago. 75% of white people in our country don't have a single friend of color. And then 80% of our job opportunities come through people that we know. So if you're not intentionally expanding your circle and
Mhm.
who you're sharing your social capital with, all of that social capital is only being circulated among other white people. And that is perpetuating systemic racism.
Mhm. Or it's the same people in the organizations that are like, Oh, that's weird. We don't have anybody but white people here. Well, how did you, right? Like, what did you
Yeah.
think was going to happen?
Yeah.
These are all things you really have to be intentional about. It's
Yes.
intentionality. And if you are not self aware to even notice,
Yeah.
you won't be intentional about changing what the system currently is.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think Dr. Autumn Blackdeer, I think is her name, posted about how DEI becomes helping white people feel comfortable working with people of color. That is not the goal here, folks. That is not the goal. The goal is to transform organizations and transform relationships between people to stop operating from power over and dominance to a
Power with.
paradigm of power with.
Right. Hmm.
And I know that's a lot, sometimes I remember like the first, I don't know, 5 6 years, I was like, listen, all I can focus on is racism. The whole idea of taking on capitalism, that is just way too overwhelming. Like I can't even like wrap my mind around it. But they are intrinsically intertwined, and we're never going to be able to undo one without the other.
No. And we'll never be able to undo if you choose not to lace up your sneakers and step onto the track and get in the
100%. Get in the relay. And it's fun. Let me tell you, the relay is freaking fun. The people are awesome.
Yeah, it is fun. You're right. We
Yeah.
have a
So
good okay.
speaking of fun, I just want to be mindful.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
We're both dancing. We're both dancing behind the scenes. That's right. It's Karen's birthday, and you didn't
Thank
come.
you. Thank you so much, my friends.
Oh, this is so much fun. Okay, so we talk some about wellness, we talk some about healing, and we mostly wanted to center talking about anti-racism today.
Hmm.
So, in our final thoughts of just talking about wellness and talking about healing, because this is very much connected to our wellness and our healing at the end of the day. We are
Yes.
we are do you think these stats just pop up out of nowhere with us being in the middle of a stress epidemic? Oh, United States is number one in anxiety and depression. Where do you think a lot of this is coming from? It's
Yes.
people aren't healed right now and haven't been for years. And we are asking you to get sneakers, lace them up, and come on the journey and get in the relay. That's what we're asking. So, what would you, in your final thoughts, as we come to closing down, so you can go celebrate your birthday off of here? What would you want to tell people? What do you want to tell people in regards to wellness, in regards to healing, in regards to equity, in regards to us being so much better than we are right now?
Yes. Well, with regards to healing, Resma Menachem says the harm that was done to us was not done to us individually; it was done to us collectively. So the healing can't be individual; it has to be collective too. So I really want us to think about, Future and I have a really powerful cohort of interracial sisterhood. We'd love for people to participate in that. What are some collective healing experiences that you can be a part of, and building that connective tissue over time? Because it
Mhm.
doesn't come from a one-time encounter. It has to evolve over time. And I would just also like to say thank you, Future, because you have been so much a part of my healing. You have given me so much wisdom and grace and laughter and joy and rest. And just you, I don't know, you have given me permission. You have given me so much permission, um, Future, and I am very, very grateful.
Well, I love you. And here's what people need to know about, Karen and I give her the business, right? Like we will have, and you know it, Karen, we will have down. I'm like, we got to talk here. And, and I shouldn't say most, I don't want to categorize. There are a lot of people who, if I had that conversation with, they would probably block me. We wouldn't
Mm,
even anymore. They would literally say, they'd get their shoes, sling them over their shoulders. I'm going home with my shoes and never come back to the relay. Right?
screw this relay.
Where do I tap it out? Okay. I quit. And at the same time, I think what I would ask people, if you truly care about this meaning anti-racism, you have to be okay with acknowledging you are going to make oopsies. There's going
Mm,
to be mistakes. We are not perfect, even though some of us are walking around with our ego of, I have to be this perfect being. Impermanence, change, evolution of self is what you are to be. Are you being that? And are you giving yourself the grace to say, okay, that was a hard lesson. I am going to surrender to the sound of my soul. I'm going to get back because that was hard. And thank you for that knowing so that I could do better, not only for myself, but for humanity. So that's what I would say. I love how we could just be, this is what it is, right? That wasn't pretty. Or this was so funny. Let's laugh about, right? Because we laugh a lot. And I think as adults, we're walking around, I'm so serious, okay? And professionalism is synonymous with not laughing. And
mm,
why are we taking the joy out of life? Why are we
no.
taking the joy out of our life? So
Yeah.
please just laugh a little bit more, have fun, and listen. Listen to your heart, listen to other people that maybe you haven't heard from before if you're not in interracial relationships, and rest up. Okay, Dan, I know you wanted to come on and share a couple things.
Yeah. So, first of all, why is my camera back to being in the green screen? I don't know. Um, this was an amazing conversation. Karen brought up the idea of supporting those buying coffee. Here I've got two books by authors that we're friends with. This is by
Mm.
Sharon Hurley Hall, called I'm Tired of Racism. And of course, our dear friend, Dr. Nadia Lopez, The Bridge to Brilliance. This is just two of so many books written by those that we know and love here on the platform that are Black authors. Please do your best. Avoid going through Amazon. If they have a site, reach out to that to there so that they get full credit. Plantation Theory by John Graham Jr. God knows I can't get through anything without dropping his name. Um, so I did want to thank Karen, and Karen's about 30 steps ahead of me on her journey as a white anti-racist. Um, so it's great to hear kind of where I'm headed. But the reason I wanted to
Wait,
come
wait,
on,
wait. Dan, I want, we are all on this journey. We're walking alongside each other, okay? I'm not 30 steps ahead of you. We're all together
well,
here.
I
Yeah.
feel like I'm that kid, that like toddler that goes really slow and is kind of like looking around, and you're the adult that's like, come on, come on. Um, and I know that because I have the twins, and one of them does that. But the reason that I wanted to come on is because next week is going to be a little bit different.
Mm.
So next week, our dear, our sweet, our loving, well, who the fuck am I kidding? Our Future is not going to be here. I'm just- so Future's going to kick my ass later. That's okay. Um, so for the first time, I'm going to be hosting the show, and we looked at some different options for who could potentially come on. And the reality is that there is one very special person I had in mind. She's not somebody that's normally very active on social media. Her name is Sharita Washington. She is the co-president for Amazon's ERG, they call it Finney Group, the Black Employee Network. She has been my sister for a long, long time, and we've worked together. And one of the things that we're going to be discussing, and normally we don't plan these things out, is the tendency of BIPOC minority community to validate themselves in statements when discussing things with other people. And that was it was based off of an interesting conversation that her and I had that I had no idea how big a deal it was until after the fact. So she's going to be joining me next week. Please show up, show out. I know that Future wanted to be there for Sharita, but I can assure you that she will be back, just like Karen will be back. And then because Future's gone, I have to do like double duty to make up
Mhm.
for it because I'm only, 50, 10, 15% of Future. So then on the 15th, or no, on the 14th. So that's on the 15th. On the 14th, I am joining Dr. Kevin Sansbury on the Toxic Leadership podcast. So we're going to be talking about all things diversity, equity, inclusion. Although I have to say, there was a comment earlier that really stood out to me. And I was like, oh God, I hope Karen and Future don't pick this up, because if they do, this is going to be another hour and a half long conversation. And it was on the idea of DEI just being anti-Black, because 1,000,000% agree, just first and foremost. But the reality is that right now, everybody needs labels. And if you're not going to place a label on something like DEI program manager, then companies aren't going to have any idea where to put you. And that leads to even more of an uneven distribution of labor that we already have. And it goes down a long, long, dangerous slide. Well, dangerous for the 2%. But anyway, I appreciate all of you being here, and I just figured I would come on. Future, if it's okay with you, I'm going to do a little bit different with the outro today. So did you want to say anything before we head out?
Oh, what do I want to say today? I am super sad that I can't be here next week because I love who you're bringing on. Right?
She's
Like,
amazing. People don't know her, and she's going to be like, I'm telling you, when they realize how amazing Sharita is, uh, she's gonna be she's gonna hate me, because afterwards everybody's gonna expect her to start doing all these posts. Dan, you just made so much work for me. Um, but here's the other thing that I forgot to mention. She's also on the alumni board. I don't know if it's Morehouse, but it's one of the HBCUs. So there's going to be a lot of conversation about that we some topics that we really haven't touched on to
Mhm.
this point. But
Mhm.
yeah, we will definitely, like, Future. We're piling up guests at such a rapid rate
I know.
that, like, we say that we're bringing back Karen, 2026 maybe. I don't know. Karen, Karen at that point is going to be president of the school board. Um,
It's
you know, she's gonna she's gonna have the model community up there in San Fran that we're all gonna be just under. Like, we're gonna have to reach out to her white press secretary to schedule time with her, whatever the case may be. Um, so it's gonna be an interesting dynamic. So 2026, Karen Fleshman for president of the school board. Um,
You're hysterical. What do I want to say? I just want to say, I think people are forgetting you're enough. I think people are forgetting to look themselves in the mirror every day and say, I love you.
Mm.
We have to, if we're going on this journey of healing, if we're going on this journey of anti racism, you have to start with you. You have to share kindness and peace, like you have on your shirt, Dan, to yourself first. You have to do that. So I guess my question to everybody today would be reflecting on, what are you doing to love yourself? What are you doing to provide yourself peace and a peace of mind? And are you being kind in your thoughts to yourself? Because how do you fully show up for anybody else giving them those things if you can't even do it for you?
Mm.
And with that, thank you all for tuning in again, and we very much appreciate you. Last thing I'm going to say is, when I learned the hard way last night that when you wear a shirt that says "peace to bed," that doesn't mean you get peaceful night's sleep. But that's a different story. So we've already talked about next week. Please make sure you're tuning in. Then on the 14th, Valentine's Day. I hate that holiday. Toxic Leadership Podcast with Dr. Kevin Sansbury. For now, we want to be respectful, Karen, so hang on for about 30 seconds. But for the third time today, we're going to go out to this.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.